Hey everyone, Clifton here with Clifton WP, and in this tutorial we're going to be learning how to create a beautiful restaurant website. You guys ready? Let's go. Okay, quick overview of what we're going to be building. So this is the restaurant website, and if we come here, you notice that this website is a very lovely looking website. However, it's very simple, not very many pages, and we've managed the sections on the website very well. So it starts off with this hero area or featured area, or some people like to call this the header area, where we have a very simple navigation, just 2 pages, the menu and making a reservation. And then we've got our aspirational statement and a call to action. If you scroll down, we have the introductory section here where it's introducing the restaurant. And then we have the restaurant offerings, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Then if you scroll further down, we have what I like to call a mini menu. So this menu is a tabbed menu, meaning that each offering is in its own tab. And this way you get to be able to manage the space very well. So the user can just select which one they're interested in, and they'll be able to see those items in each tab. If you scroll down further, we have an opt-in section where people can opt into either a membership or a loyalty program or for a coupon download by entering their name and email. And as we get to the end of the page, we have the testimonial section where past diners have left a testimonial, and then the footer of the website for additional contact information. If we look at the internal pages here, so if I click on the menu page, for instance, we have a nice little page header here with the title. And then as you scroll down, you'll notice that we have the menu items listed out in a list format. So breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So people can navigate that fairly easily. And then the final page is the make a reservation page, where we have just a simple form where people can fill this out and be able to send the restaurant a request for a reservation. Okay. Now, as I mentioned before, everything that we've built here is 100% free. We are using the WordPress content management system. We're also using Kadence blocks to be able to augment the Gutenberg page builder. And for our form, actually, we're using Fluent Forms, the free version of Fluent Forms. So maybe in a later tutorial, we will check out all the pro versions of all those free tools and maybe soup up the website a little bit. But what I can tell you is you can actually build a very nice looking, beautiful website with a really nice presentation using all these free tools. And then when you try to get into more advanced applications and things like that, then you can go ahead and get the pro versions of each tool. And I'll leave links to everything in the description below. But for now, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and delete all this completely and rebuild this entire website from scratch. And this way you'll learn all the tips and techniques that we use to create this great presentation. All right, let's get into it. All right, so here we are with a default installation of WordPress. And if you don't know how to install WordPress, I do have a video that covers that, and I will link that in the description below. So right now what you're looking at is the default theme that comes with WordPress, and this is the first thing that we're going to go ahead and change. So go ahead and access the dashboard. We're going to go to Appearance, Themes, and we're going to click on Add New. When you do that, you'll be in the WordPress repository for themes. We're going to go ahead and search for Kadence. And here's the Kadence theme that we'll be using. Click Install and Activate. And now when we look at the website looks a little bit better. Then the next thing that we need to do is we need to install Kadence blocks. Now, Kadence blocks is a Gutenberg plugin by the Kadence WP theme that adds additional blocks to the default blocks that ship with WordPress when you first install it. So we're going to go ahead and go to Plugins, click on Add New, and we're going to do a search for Kadence again. So Kadence blocks, and this is what we're looking for here. So we're going to go ahead and install that so we can get those additional blocks that we'll need. And what Kadence blocks does is it just gives you page builder capability. So you get these additional blocks added to your site, and now you can go ahead and just build out full-blown home pages or internal pages or any kind of page that you want with the help of these additional blocks. So now that we've done that, this is all we really need to go ahead and get started with building out our restaurant website. So we now have our theme installed, and we also have the Kadence blocks installed as well. So the next step here is for us to start building out the home page. To do that, we're going to go to Pages, Add New. We're going to call this Home. Call this Home. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set up our page. So our page is set up in a boxed format right now. We're going to go ahead and change that. Up here to the top right, go ahead and select this page settings icon. And what we're going to do here is we're going to disable the page title. We're going to set the page layout to full width. We're going to set the content style to be unboxed, and we're going to eliminate the vertical padding on the page. Once you've completed that, go ahead and click on Publish. And when we view this page, we should be able to see a completely blank page. Okay? Then the next thing that we need to do is we need to set this to be our home page, because if I go ahead and visit the site right now, it's still set up to be almost like a blog. So I'm going to go to Dashboard, Settings, Reading. Right here where it says your home page displays, go ahead and select a static page. And the home page we want is the new home page that we have created. Go ahead and save that. And we're done. And then just a little bit of housekeeping. Go to Pages, All Pages, and we're going to delete these default pages that come with the installation of WordPress, right? So when you install it, they just put the default pages in there. We're going to get rid of those. So move to Trash. We'll go to the trash, select them again, empty the trash, and now all we have now is our home page. Awesome. Now we're going to start building out the elements of this home page. Okay, so first thing that we're going to do here is we're going to add all our images to this install. And I'm going to leave a link in the description below that will link you to be able to download the images that I used. Just go ahead and download it in case you want to follow along. But to be able to do that, just go back to, I'm going to go here to the dashboard. I'm going to go to the media library, and I'm going to click on Add New, select Files, and we're going to go find our images. So I have it here, and I'm just going to select all the images that are here and upload them into the website. This way we're ready with everything that we need to build out our pages, and we don't have to do any additional uploads. Okay. Awesome. So the first thing we want to do is we want to create that initial row area where we had the giant pancake and the two elements, which was the text element and the paragraph element. And then we also had the button element as well. So let's go ahead and build that out. So from here, I'm going to click on Edit Page so I can edit this page directly. And then I'm going to start building out the sections of the page. So first here, I'm going to go ahead and select the plus button up here that'll open up all the blocks. And we can see here all the Kadence blocks from the installation of the Kadence blocks plugin. And I want to select a row layout. So it gives me a section. Now that I have this section, I'm going to select a 2-column section. Okay. And then over here to the right of the page, I'm going to go ahead and make a few setting changes. The first thing that I want to do is I want to select structure settings, and I want to set the content max width of this row to be the same as the max width of the theme. And the theme's max width is 1290. Okay. And later on, I'll show you where we're getting this number, but it's 1290. But I want to set it to the content max width of the theme. So now, since it is 1290, I don't actually need to fill this out. I can remove that and just toggle this button on here, and it'll do it for me automatically, just like that. Okay, so now that that's done, then now I need to build out the background. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select the row. And if you ever have any trouble selecting items, just go ahead and click on this little stairway right here, which will provide a list view of your layout. So you can just select the list view icon, and you'll be able to see all the different sections of your layout. So I'm going to leave that open just for now. and then I'll probably be closing this as we move along. So now that I have this done, I want this row layout, and I want the background to be an image. So I'm going to come here again to the right, select the background settings. I'm going to leave it on the image icon here, and I'm going to go ahead and select an image. We've already uploaded images to our media library. This is that image there, and I'm going to go ahead and insert that image. Now that the image is in there, I want to be able to see more of this image. So I'm going to go back here again to the right, and I'm going to go to structure settings. And here where it says minimum height, I'm going to change this height to 950 pixels so that it's nice and big and large and I can see everything. Then the other thing that I want to do is I can see here that the columns are aligned to the top. I actually want this aligned to the center. So I want to go ahead here in this mini menu up here, select the item here, the alignment icon, and I want this aligned to the middle. And now we can see that everything is aligned to the middle very nicely. Okay, now we can add some elements to our section. So we have two column section here. I'm going to go ahead and add some elements. So I'm going to go ahead and click inside the first section, and I want to use the advanced heading block. So with this advanced heading block, this is where we're going to put our unique selling proposition or aspirational statement, and I believe it was enjoy breakfast, lunch, and dessert anytime. Okay. So now that that's in there, and we can't see that very well, so we're going to go ahead and change the color. I can change the color using the mini menu up here, or I can also change the color to the right here. Okay, so to change it up here, this is just a lot quicker for me. I'm going to go ahead and click on this color icon here, and we're going to change this to white. Oops. Okay, so that's white. So now we can see this a little bit better. Then the other thing that I want to do is I want to change the size of it as well. So right next to it here, you can access the typography settings, and we're going to change the size. Now, if you want to change the size, and we're going to do this on the front end as well, but we're just going to set things up here, and then I'll change it on the front end for the rest of the website. You have to give it a font family. And the font family that we're going to be using in this specific tutorial is Yeseva 1. It's a really nice font. Very stylish, very nice serif font, very elegant, but nice and thick. So now that we have that, and then I want the size to be really big. So I'm looking for 65. Yeah, 65 pixels looks really good. And then I'm noticing that the spacing between the text here is really large. So we want to close that up a little bit. So I'm going to set this about two pixels above the actual. There we go, about 2 pixels above the actual size. So that looks really good so far. So now when we look at this, you can see that we can see the text, but we can't see it all that well. So what I want to do is I want to put an overlay over this image. Now, if you go over here to the right let's go ahead and select the row. You can select the row by clicking on the image, or you can do it here in the list view. I'm going to go ahead and select background overlay settings. And here you get the chance to be able to make a normal overlay setting. So I could just come here and select a color. Let's say I selected black. It's at a 30% opacity. I can increase the opacity. And now you can see the text is a little bit more prominent. But I really don't like using just a color across the board like that. I like to be able to sort of tailor it a little bit so that one half is darker and the other side is lighter. That way we can see more of the image. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to opt for the gradient option, and then I'm going to make the first color I'm going to make the first color white, and I'm going to make it transparent. So it disappears. Then the second color I'm going to make black. Let's use this one here. Okay, so now this is dark. Okay, and then what I want to do is I want to change the opacity. I want this a little bit darker opacity so we can see more darkness here. There we go. And then right here where it says gradient angle, if you move this around, you'll notice that the angle changes, right? So now right here is now on the right. I want it more on the left, right? And to get it perfectly there on the left, there we go. So that's more on the left. So this side is darker than this side, okay? So let's just make this, let's just make this 240. All right, that looks really good. And then the next thing that I want to do is I just want to make sure I'm going to reduce the opacity just a little bit. There we go. So about 70. And now we can see our text as well as the beautiful image of the pancakes as well. So next we're going to go ahead and add the rest of our text. To do that, just go ahead and click in the first column here, and you can see a plus sign here. Or if you want, just hit the enter key and it'll create a new item space for you. We're going to do a slash, and I want an advanced heading again. And this time, this is just going to contain some dummy text. Now, this is still a heading, so I want this to actually be a paragraph. And this is what I love about the heading tool that Kadence Blocks offers. I can go ahead and select this and make this into a paragraph, right? And so now let's go ahead and grab some text. And the best way to be able to do that is you can just go to Google and do a search for Lipsum generator. Click on that. And I'm just going to grab a little bit of text here. So this is just some dummy text. Go back to my page, paste that in. And then so we can see it, I'm going to change the color. The color will be white. There we go. So now we can see that nice and clearly. And so far that looks really good. Now the only thing left to do here is basically to go ahead and add a button. So right here at the end of it, I'm going to go ahead and click enter, /, and now I'm going to look for a button. So I'm going to do a / and advanced button. Now I'm using the shortcut to find these items, but you can always use the plus sign here or the plus sign here to be able to find the items. Okay, so now we have our button. I'm going to go ahead and configure the button now, put some text in, see the menu, and then I'm going to make the rest of my customizations over here to the right. So over here to the right are the full customizations for this button. I'm going to start at the top and just go straight down. So at the very top here, I want the alignment to be to the left. Okay. And then we're not going to worry about a link right now. We'll do that later. The font size is fine. And I want the button here, the text color to be dark. So a little darker. I want the background color to be orange. And if you want the exact orange, it's EA8, E10. And that's the exact orange that we're using. All right, and that looks pretty good. And then now we want to set up the hover color. So the hover color, so when you hover over the item, I want the text to be white and the background color to be that same, we can say EA8 and E10. And then I'm just going to push this all the way over so that's nice and light. There we go. Okay. So now our button is built and our website is actually looking really good right now. So now the next thing we're going to do here is I noticed that there's a black border around this button. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. So select the button again. And right here, there is a border option, which is right here. I'm going to select that border and I'm going to make the transparency 0. So there's no more border. And then I'm going to go to the hover option. And the hover option, I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, now that looks good. So now we've completed building out the background. We've put in our text. And the other thing that we want to do is we want to add a nice divider to this here. Okay, so that we had a nice divider here on the preview. So we're going to go ahead and add a nice divider. And the way we do that is by selecting the row layout again. To the right here, select dividers. And we're going to select the divider for the bottom. So we're already on the bottom, and the one we're looking for kind of looks like a fish. Kind of looks like a little whale, right? So here it is right here. So we're going to select this one. That looks really good. And we'll leave that alone for right now because we just want our initial layout for right now. And this looks really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and save this and view the front end. And here we are. Okay, so we've created a nice little header area. Next, what we'll need to do is we're going to go ahead and now configure the rest of our theme and layout. Basically, we want this to be a transparent header, and then we can build out the rest of our home page. Okay, so now since we're building this from scratch, typically when you're working on a project or a web project, there's a lot of steps in front of it that happens. There's wireframes and color palette selections and font selections and so on. And typically these are things that you would do in the theme, but I wanted to start it off this way so we can get you into building stuff right away and utilizing some of the tools. There's nothing that says you have to start building your website any one way. This is just one way of doing it. There are multiple ways of doing it, but I like doing it this way because now that I can see the image, I can actually pull my colors from the image. And there's lots of tools and websites where you can plug in an image and it will give you a color palette, but I'm going to show you how to do this on the fly. All right, so what I want to do now from the front end is first I want to do two things. I want to select a color and font for my overall website so we don't have to do it anymore. And then I also want to select a color palette. I want to create a color palette myself. So the way we're going to do that, and one of the things that the Kadence theme allows you to be able to do is you can create your own palette. And the way to do that is you go to Customize. And under Customize, we're going to go to General. Okay, and we're going to select colors. So here is the global palette of the site. And what's great about this is it's very easy to understand how this works. If you hover over any one of these colors, you can see that the first one is an accent color. So this might be the color for the default color for your buttons and links. And then next would be the accent alt, which could be a hover color. And then the strongest text. So your H1s or H2s will have this color. Strong text, maybe a bold or your regular text on the website. And then here we have medium text and then subtle text. And then right here, this is a subtle background. So you may see this as an accent background on your website. And here is the lighter background. So this is a lighter touch of a background, and this may be used in sidebars. And then right here where it says white or off-white, this is the actual background of the site. So you see all these white areas right here? That's what this controls. So you can leave this as is and create your own palettes if you want. But what we're going to do is we're going to actually change this main palette here so that our website is affected. And I'm going to start actually from the right side. So what I want to do is I want this to be a little bit not so white. Okay, I want it to be a little bit off-white, a little bit beige. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this, and I'm just looking at this pancake here, right? So I'm thinking, okay, so there's some beige colors here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select an orange color that looks very close to that. And then I'm going to move my cursor until I'm satisfied. And I can see it changing, right? You can see it changing down here on the site. So I want this to be a very, very light beige color. Almost like that pancake. Okay, so you just keep moving it around until you're happy. So that looks pretty good. Maybe too much yellow in there. All right, there we go. That looks pretty good. There we go. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Okay, and you can play around with it yourself on your own. Just move these around if you want it to have a little more orange tint to it. I like it right there. Okay, so it's nice soft beige color. So now we're done with that. This color here, the lighter background, I actually want this color to be white. Okay, so we're gonna make this white, and white is just 6 Fs. That's the hex color for white. And then the accent background is going to be similar to this one, but just a little bit darker. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this hex code, come here, paste in the hex code there, and I'm going to make it a little more brown. So just a little bit more. Okay. So now we have our base background color set. Then the next thing we need to do is we need to change these initial colors. Now, typically your buttons and links will have these colors. So I'm going to make the initial link the same color as the background for the button that I created initially. And that was EA8 E10. Okay. And then we need a accent color. So it's going to be similar to this one, but just a little bit lighter, right? So I'm going to go ahead and select this, and I'm going to move it all the way to the light portion of the color spectrum there. Okay. And then everything else I'm going to leave the same. I'm happy with these colors here, right? So these are more my text colors. I'm going to leave these alone, and I'm going to go ahead and publish that. So now if you look over here, you'll notice that my links are now the same color as this global palette, and you'll notice that my buttons will default to these colors. And so now the only other thing that left to do is I want to change the font. So I'm going to go back, go to typography, and the base font that I want to use, this is where we can change our fonts. The base font that I want to use is Montserrat. I just love that font. It's nice and elegant and very nice presentation on it. Okay, so I'm just going to select Montserrat. That's what I want. I want my font text to be 16 pixels. Okay, and then for headings, I'm going to make changes to the heading font family. And the initial heading, the default heading that we're going to be using for us is the Yasiva 1. Okay, so that's going to be the default heading that comes in. All right, and we may use some other headings later on, but this is all we need for right now, just these two settings. I'm going to go ahead and publish that. And now everything is set. So just by default now, whenever I add an advanced heading or an H1 tag or a paragraph tag, it's going to automatically default to those two fonts that I selected, right? And then same thing with the colors. So now we can go ahead and proceed with building out our transparent header. To build out our header, we're going to go to Customize. And under the Kadence theme options, we're going to select Header. Okay, and the header that we have for this specific type of website is a transparent header. So I'm going to go down here and select transparent header. I'm going to enable the transparent header. Okay, so now it is now enabled, and you can immediately see that our header is now overlaying our image. This looks great. All right, and we want to use, we want to set up our logo and everything for the header. So I'm going to go here and we're going to toggle this on where it says different logo for transparent header, and we're going to select the logo. Now you should have a logo for your site. I'm going to go ahead and include mine in the download in the description below if you want to use that. But when you create a logo, make sure that you have a logo for the white version, so the light version of your logo, and a dark version. See here I have two versions of it. So I'm going to select the light version for the transparent header, and immediately my logo is in place. And then I'm going to get rid of the text here. So I'm going to click back here, right here where it says header design, and I'm going to go to down here where we have the header tray. We're going to select logo, and right here I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add the dark version of my logo. Okay, and it's asking me if I want to crop. I'm going to skip cropping. It's fine the way it is. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to get rid of this text. So right now the setting says for logo and title, we're just going to select logo. And that takes care of that. Takes care of it for the main header, and it takes care of it for the transparent header. Then I'm going to go ahead and set up my site icon as well. So click site icon, select icon. I'm going to select the logo again, select, and this time what I'm going to do is just going to move this over so that it crops just the cup there. And now we have our site icon. The site icon is what's going to appear in this area when people are looking at the website. All right, so now that that's done, let's go back, take a look at our header, go to transparent header, and we can see our transparent header is in place. And right here we have our navigation. But if you notice our navigation, you can't really see it. So let's go ahead and fix that. So I'm going to go here to design where it says navigation colors. I'm going to change the initial color of that navigation to our color here from our palette. And then right here, the hover color, I want it to be a little lighter. And the active color is also going to be a little lighter. Okay. So now that's all nicely set up. And then I'm going to go ahead and publish my changes. Go ahead and save my changes. And the header is pretty much ready, right? So just one thing to reiterate. Let's get out of this. So when you're in here and you go to customize in the Kadence theme and you select header, you'll notice this tray pops out at the bottom here. So this tray allows you to make changes to the sections in the header and also the elements in the header. And it comes with a certain number of elements by default. So you got HTML, social, button, search, and secondary navigation, right? So you can make changes to these elements. So I can select primary navigation, for instance, and here be able to make changes to the design, the spacing, and so on, right? If I wanted to. I can select the logo and I can go ahead and make changes to my logo. I can also select that specific row, right? Even though this is a transparent heading, and I can make changes to whatever options are provided there. So it's just important for you to know that once you select header, there are additional changes that need to be made here. Now that we've gone over that, let's go ahead and close out and take a look at our site. And so far, this looks really good. Now, there was a button here in the initial version that we created. So we're going to go ahead and add that button now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to customize. I'm going to go to header. Now this tray is opened up here. I'm going to come here into the tray and I'm going to click on the plus sign. When you click on the plus sign, you can see all the additional widgets that you can add to your header. You can build out any type of header you want here, but I just want this button. So I'm going to select the button and immediately places a button there for me. You can see the default color is already set up and everything for me. So I want to customize this button. So I'm going to go ahead and select the cog customization icon on that specific button, which is right here. And the first thing I want to do is I want to change the label. Make a reservation. We won't worry about the URL right now. We'll plug that in later. So far, this looks good. I do want to make some additional changes to this. So I'm going to go back here to the design. I want this button to actually be a clear button. So an outline button. And you can do that just when you come over here, just select outline. It removes all the background and everything. I'm going to go here to the design. And I want a border color of white. And the border hover color can be our orange color. Okay. And then we need to add a border. So I'm going to go ahead and click on just this single line here. And you can see we now have a border going around. All right. And I have to change these colors now to white. And then we want the hover to be orange. Okay. The other thing that we want to do is we want to make this a rounded button. So what I want to do is I'm come here to border radius and I'm going to type in 100. And now I have a nice rounded button there. Okay. So now when we hover over it, we can see that the outline changes color to let us know that it is activated. Okay. And that's it for that button. So I'm going to go ahead and click publish and close this out. And now our header is pretty much done. Our featured area is done. Now we get to work on the rest of the page. Okay, so now let's build out the rest of the sections of the page. So what I want to do, I'm going to go back to edit page. And the first thing that I'm going to do is, now that we've selected our background color to be a lighter beige color, we want our divider to be the same color as well. So I'm going to select the row here. And let's go ahead and open up our layout tree so we can see everything that we're doing. So I'm going to select this row. I'm going to go to structure settings and I'm going to go to the divider. Oops, no, actually not structure settings, excuse me, the dividers. And so while here at the dividers, I want to change this color to match this color. So I'm going to select the color there. And if we remember, this is our background color here. So now all this matches. The other thing that I want to do is I want to switch this divider around. So I want it to be facing the other way. Right now it is curving up here to the right. I want to curve to the left. So let's find one that does that. Here it is right here. And then I also want this to be a little bit higher so that this curve here is pointing towards that orange button. So we go here to divider height, and I'm going to make this 160. So it's a little bit more of a curve. That looks a lot better. It's more prominent. Then the other thing that I want to do here is here where it says see the menu. I think this could use a very good icon right next to it. So I'm going to go to the button, select the button, click on the button settings, and we're going to look for the icon section here, which is right here. And I want something that looks like a menu. So I'm going to say, let's look for a document maybe. Here we go. So it looks like a little paper menu there. So there is a menu. And then we also want that to face, to be at the beginning. So the location needs to be on the left, right there. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, so now we are practically done with this section. Now we need to build out the next section here, which is the introduction to we're going to be introducing the restaurants, or have a little blurb or a paragraph or something that talks about the restaurant and then the different services that they offer. So to do that, we're going to create a new row. So just go here, click on the plus sign. We're going to select row layout. We want a 2-column row, and there you go. Oh, sorry, we inserted that into the wrong place. So let's go ahead and undo that. Click undo. We don't want that. Or we can click delete, and now it's gone. I actually want it here. So while my cursor is here, click this plus sign, row layout, 2 columns. Then if we remember the structure settings, we want this to click on that content max width inherited from theme. Content max width is about 1290, so that everything's lined up really nicely. Now, if we remember, we had an image on this side, and then all our text was on this side. So we're going to go ahead and add an image here. And the way we're going to do this image, so select the plus sign, we're just going to add a regular image from the library. Select from the media library. We want this one, and select. And now the image is in there. Okay. We're not going to mess with any of these settings at all. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to style this so that we have a nice little border so that the image stands out a little bit more. The way we're going to do that, so if you notice the default image block in Gutenberg has very little styling as of now. So we're going to lean on the row layout and the section layout for that Kadence Blocks provides. That's why we're using the Kadence Blocks row block. So what we want to do, open up your tree here, and we'll find that image. Here it is. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and click on section right there. And then to the right here, we're going to do a couple of things. First, we're going to give it a border color of white. There we go. Then the next thing that we're going to do is going to give it a border width of 15. And we want that all the way across, or all the way around rather. All right. And you can't see it's really subtle, but you'll see what we're doing. We're going to leave border radius alone, and we're going to turn on box shadow. Now remember, we're editing the section. So inside of the row, there is a section, and then there's the image. So we're editing the section. So make sure you have the section selected. Now that we've put that, toggled on the box shadow, you can see there's a nice subtle shadow around there. I want it to be a little bit more prominent, so I'm going to increase this to 24. And that looks good. That's good enough for me. So we're going to leave that alone, and now that's done. Then the next thing we need to do is we need to put some text here. So the text that we had here, we had a little bit of text, so some small text and then large text. So first we're going to start with the small text, and that text actually had a divider right next to it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to create another row layout. So we're going to add 2 columns here inside of this 1 column. Okay, so just watch what I do. I'm going to click the plus sign, click row layout. We're going to select two rows here. In the first row, we're going to put a separator. So we can type in here spacer, divider. And this is the one that we want to use. So not this one. We want to use this one. So select that. Now that we've selected it, let's go ahead and configure this. So I'm going to go here to the right. Okay. I'm going to change the height to the lowest that it can go. Right there. So it's about 6. It won't do any lower than that. Then the next thing that we want to do here is we're going to set the alignment to be all the way to the left. The divider style will be solid, and the divider color will be this color that we have here, this orange color, FF9200. Okay. The divider height, we're going to make that a 5. So it's nice and thick and we can see it. Okay. And then the divider width, for now, we're going to leave that at 80%. Actually, let's increase that to 90%. So it takes up most of the column and has a little bit of space right there. Okay. And that's all we need to do for the divider. In the second column here, now remember, this is the 2 columns inside of the main column. In here, we're going to go ahead and add our advanced heading. And we're going to leave this as an advanced heading, H2, and we're going to go ahead and type in our mini text, right? So the mini text is eat, let's see here, eat, and you can put anything you want here. This is just what I put, be served safely. Okay. And then we want this to be small. So we're going to move over to the right here. Where you can change the text fonts under the typography settings. You can do that. But I like to do it here because it's just a lot quicker. So I'm just going to go ahead and select here. And the font that we're using here is Yasiva 1. So remember, you have to set the font here if you want all these additional options to show up in this mini editor here. If you do it here, you can just do it directly, but you really have to do it here. If you have to set this up in order to get all these other, like the side. Look, if I take this out, all those additional settings are now gone, right? So if I actually put in Yasiva 1, now I have transform, style, subset, spacing. I have all these things now, right? So from here, what I want to do is I want to change the size here, and I want to make this 16 font size. And you can always be looking at it just to make sure that you're happy with the size. This is just the size that I choose. So 16 font size. Then the other thing that I want to do here is I want to transform this to be capitalized. So that, excuse me, uppercase. This way it's all uppercase letters. Okay. So now that I've done this, the next thing that I need to do is I need to get this aligned, center aligned with this row right here. Okay. So I've done that. I also want to change the color a little bit. So I want it to be sort of a darker brown, even darker than that. So I'm going to take right there. Okay, that's good enough. Okay, so now if you notice, if you look at this, we can see that the text here, the goal here, we want to align this text to be centered with the row as much as we can. So let's go ahead and update and view this on the front end and see how this looks. So this is how this really looks. So this is a little bit taller at the top, and this is right here at the bottom. So we're going to fix that. The way we do that, go back to the editing. Okay, and I want you to open up your link tree here so that we can select that area correctly. And if we move this around, we can see where we are. This is where we are, the advanced heading. This is the section for the advanced heading. This is the spacer divider, and this is the section. And then right above that is the row. I'm going to select that row by clicking on it. And what I want to do is I want to align everything to the middle. On a vertical, align everything to the middle. So let's do that. Now it's vertically aligned to the middle. I'm going to go ahead and update this and view it again. Okay, so now we can see everything's nicely centered now. Right, everything's nice in the center. So now we just need to bring this together so that this is shorter and this is floated to the left. So I'm gonna go ahead and edit the page again. I'm gonna come here, select it, and you see this. You see the percentage of the width of the row here, 50% and 50%. I'm gonna put my cursor right in the middle, And I'm just going to drag this all the way as far as it can go. So about 10% for one column and 90% for the other one. Okay, and now let's take a look at it. The other thing I want to make sure is that this is floated to the left. So if you select this heading here, we can come here to the alignment, and we want to make sure that the text is aligned to the left, which it looks like it is. I'm going to go ahead and update now, and let's view this. Okay, so it looks really, really close. It's looking really good. I want to get this even closer to each other, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and edit the page again, and here's how we're going to do that. I'm going to select this heading, and I'm going to go to spacing and settings, and what I want to make sure of is that there are no spaces on the right of this text. So I'm going to come here and I'll put a 0 there. Okay, and then I'm also going to put, I'm going to select the divider as well. And I'm just going to make sure that there are no spacing issues, anything that's blocking it at all. So we have 90%. So now what if I change this to 100% and see if it gets me a little closer. There we go. And update. Then we're going to view the page. And we see here we're even a lot closer now. Okay. All right, so this looks pretty good. Then the next thing that we need to do is we need to now add our larger text at the bottom. Okay. So edit page. We're going to come here. Now we have to make sure that we're adding it in the right place. So make sure that you can see the row when you select it. If you can't see it, open up the link tree, select the last row layout that is there. And right here where you have this plus sign, we're going to add a block. That block is going to be the advanced heading. And here we're going to type in our text. So our specialty is good food. Okay. Now let's increase this so that it's more prominent. We're going to come here to the text. We're going to increase the size to 65. Whoops, actually it's too big. Let's go with 55. Sorry, we lost that for a minute. Let's do that again. Select. Size will be 55. Great. Then the line height, we're just going to make this about 2 pixels above, so 52. And then we can see here we've got a lot of spacing going on, but don't worry about that. We will fix that. So now that we have this here, our specialty is good food. Then the next thing that we need to do is we need to solve the spacing issue. So in here where we have this row, and you can select that on the link tree here if you want, we're going to start bringing everything here together. So with this row right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reduce the padding for that row. You can do that here under the spacing settings here for this row. Okay, and you can see that here by on the padding margin section. So we're going to select that. And in the padding margin section, we're going to go ahead and make this bottom 0. And we're going to leave the top just the way that it is. That's fine for now. Then we're also going to make sure that our heading here doesn't have any spacing at the top. So I'm going to come here, select that heading, go to spacing settings, and at the very top, I'm going to make sure that the margin is 0, and at the top is also 0. And you can see now everything is a lot closer. I'm going to update and take a look at my work. All right, so this is nice and close. Looks very good. Now I'm still wanting a little bit of more. I still want this to be a lot closer, right? So there's a little bit too much of a gap here. So what I'm going to do, let's go ahead and edit this page. And what's happening with every row by default in Kadence blocks, with every row that you have, there is a gutter that's a standard gutter or a default gutter, and it's 30 pixels by default. You can reduce this all the way down to 10 pixels if you want, or you can have no gutter at all. All right, but I do want something, so we're going to put this down to 10 pixels. I'm going to update this now, and when you view it, you'll notice that everything is nice and close together. This is exactly what we want. This just creates a really nice presentation here. Okay, then the next thing that we want to do here is we want to just tighten this up a little bit. So let's go ahead and edit the page. And what I want is a little bit more spacing so that everything kind of stands on its own. So I'm going to select this section right here. And if you did notice, I'm selecting the entire section. I just did that by clicking in that area. Now, if you want to be more granular, you can just use the link tree, which is very, very helpful in making sure you're selecting the right place. So I'm going to select this section. I'm going to put some padding around it. Now, if you guys want to know what padding is any spacing that you put on the inside of an element. Okay. Margin is any spacing that you put on the outside of an element. So when you see padding and margin, what that means is that you are adding spacing either on the inside, padding, or the outside, margin. So we want to add it on the inside. Okay. So on the inside of this, on the left, I want to add about 40 pixels of spacing. Okay. So I'm going to come here to the section, and right here where it says padding, on the left, I'm going to add 40 pixels. Great. So you see how that kind of brings our text a little closer together. I'm going to create a little bit more spacing here just to make this text not so smushed together. So we'll make this, let's make this 58. There we go. That looks a lot better. Okay, so now this looks really good. Then let's go ahead and add some more text. So I'm going to come here again, grab my lorem ipsum, go back page, and we're going to add an advanced heading. The version of advanced heading we want this time is a paragraph, which is really awesome capability that this block has. So it makes it very versatile. It's one of my favorite blocks. And now we have this nice text here, and we can go ahead and update that. And let's just take a look at our work. All right, so as you can see, everything is coming together really nicely, right? Everything's coming together really nice. So one of the things that we also want to do is we want to make sure, this is too close to this. We want to create a nice little space, some more spacing, just a little bit. So one of the things you always want to do with your rows is you want to separate your information very well so that they can stand on their own. So I'm going to go ahead and select that row again, the row that we've been working on. And what I want to do is I want to increase the padding for that row. So I'm going to come here under the padding and margin option, and I'm going to increase this to 120 on the top, and we'll also do 120 on the bottom. And remember, you can always adjust this once you're done. Now when we update this and we take a look at it, we can now see that there's nice spacing here. So this looks really good. Now let's go ahead and finish out the rest of this section. So what we want to do now is we want to add that a few benefits, right? So we want to add that we accept phone orders, and we also want to add the hours of operation in this very section. So let's go ahead and do that next. So we're going to go back to editing the page. I'm going to come here and I think this is a little bit too close. So let's just go ahead and adjust this so that I can be happy. I'm going to set this to 60 pixels. There we go. All right. So now what we want to do is we want to add some benefits here. So the two benefits we want to add are that we accept phone orders and the hours of operation. So what we're going to do is right here, right after the paragraph that we have here, I'm going to hit enter. And I'm going to do a / and I want the row layout. This is just a shortcut to get to the row layouts. I want the row layout again inside of this main column, which is why I did it that way. We're going to go ahead and select the 2-column layout. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and add the elements. So the element that we want, so just click on the plus sign. The element that we want to add in here is going to be the info box block from Kadence. So I'm going to type info box. Here it is. And this is probably one of the most versatile blocks that Kadence has. So it has an icon or an image if you want. It has a title and text, and also the ability to be able to link out. So it could be also like a linking blurb if you want. So now that we have that, then we can go ahead and start configuring it. All the configuring options are here at the top for the text and to the right for all the other elements. So the first thing that I want to do is I don't want this background. So I'm going to go ahead and select this. And to the right over here, I'm going to go to container settings. And where it says container settings, container background, I'm going to set that to be transparent. That's going to take that away. It also has a hover effect. So I'm going to go to the hover effect, and I'm also going to set that to be transparent. All right. Now that we've done that, I do want to keep the border that's there, and I want that to be a little more prominent. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to darken the border a little bit. Okay, so if I do this, whoops. Actually, let's do this actually on the normal, because I was doing that on the hover. Let's do that on the normal. So go to container border here, and I'm just going to get this a little bit darker. I know you can't see it now. I'll show you why you can't see it, but I do want a darker border. So we're going to take a darker border, and then back up here where it says border width, we're going to set that to 1. And now we can see what we're doing, okay? So now that we have that laid out, I can now go over to the hover version of this, and I'm going to make that hover the same color. Whoops, there we go. Good. All right, then the next thing we want to do is now we want to go ahead and configure this and set this up. So I'm done with my container settings for now, so I'm going to go ahead and close that section, close that down. And I'm going to go to the media settings. This is where we can control the icon. So the icon that I want to use here is for the fact that we accept phone orders. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. And I'm going to do a search for a phone, the icons. There's the phone that I want. Perfect. The size is a little big, so we're going to cut this down to about 20 pixels. And the other thing that I want is I want the alignment of this to be to the left. Okay, so we're going to align everything, all the content to the left. So now that we've done that, if you notice, you might notice that even though we aligned everything to the left, the icon is still kind of floating here in the middle. Okay, and you may be wondering why it is doing that. So let's go ahead and investigate. If you look here to the right under the icons, if we keep scrolling down, you'll notice that the icon has some padding and it has some margins going on. So I'm going to eliminate this padding, set that to 0. Good. You can see that it's floated a little bit better, and that's how we want it. Then the next thing that I'm going to do here is I also notice that there is some margin going on the left and the right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get rid of that margin. It's about 15 pixels there and 15 pixels there. There it is. So now everything is nicely aligned. Now I can go ahead and configure the rest of the text. So we start with the title, and this one you just edit directly. So I'm going to go here, hit the title, and I'm going to type in that we accept phone orders. All right. And I want this text to be formatted a little bit different. So let's go ahead and close media settings and go to title settings. Now for this particular title, I actually want a different font. So what we're going to do here, first we're going to reduce the size to 18. Then we are also going to transform the text to be all uppercase, like that. Perfect. And then we're going to change the font family here. We want Montserrat. We want the font weight to be heavy. So we're going to put this at 700. And I still want the font to be a little bit smaller. So maybe 18 is too big. Let's cut this down to 14. Good. So it fits right in the box there. That looks good. Then the next thing that I also want to do with this font is I want to change the color. So I want the title color to be the darker brown, kind of like this dark brown that we have here. So I can go ahead and grab this heading color and then go back. My title settings, title color, and we'll paste that in. There, now that's looking really good. So now with the text, we're going to put in our pickup times, okay? Our pickup phone numbers, excuse me. Okay, and our benefit section is now done. Our first benefit is completed. Now I want to do hours of operation, and it's going to look exactly the same. And the best way to do this so that we don't have to go through that process is just to go ahead and copy this. So I'm going to go ahead and select this item here. Okay, Okay, so select this item here. I'm going to come here. We're going to click on copy. So we've copied the info box. I'm going to click into the next column. We're going to select the paragraph, and I'm going to do a Control V to paste. Okay, or Command V if you're using a Mac. Now we have a duplicate of it, and it's perfect. Now we can just go ahead and change the elements that we want. So this is going to be our hours of operation. So I'm going to come here to media settings so I can change that icon to a more appropriate icon. And we're going to look for a clock. Okay, so here's our clock. And we're going to change the text here to hours of operation. And then we'll put in our hours. All right, and now that's done. So the only other thing left to do is to kind of bring this a little bit closer together so we have some padding going on here. So I'm going to open up my editing tree, and I'm going to look for these info boxes. So here they are right here at the very bottom. And I want the outermost row. So this is the row layout, the very next row layout next to them. And then I'm going to come in here, go to my padding and margin, and I'm going to set the top to 0. And 0 at the bottom. All right, so now this looks really good. Let's go ahead and take a look at it on the front end. And our benefits have been added. So this looks really nice. So then the last thing that we need to do is we need to add a call to action button here that says to reserve a table. Okay, so edit page. And instead of us creating a whole button from scratch, I'm going to go ahead and grab this button. So I'm going to click here, click the ellipses, the 3 buttons there, copy, come here, and I want this to be outside of that row. So you can see a plus sign right here, click add, paragraph, Command V or Control V. There's our button. And then we can go ahead and change our text. Reserve a table. So it's good to have calls to action sprinkled throughout your pages so that people can take action at any time, at any point of the page. And then we're going to also change this icon for this button. So I'm going to come here to the right, find the icon, and I want utensils. There we go. Update, view our work, and that section is now complete. Now this is a little bit too close to that row up there, so let's go ahead and change that. Edit, select our button, go to container margin, and at the very top, let's add 25 pixels. Check our work, and now that looks appropriate. That looks good. All right, so that completes the creation of this section. Next, we're going to go ahead and create the offering section. So the offering section is where we put in that, what kind of food is served at this restaurant. So we have breakfast, lunch, and desserts, and that's going to be really easy to do. We're just going to create 3 columns below this, and go ahead and populate those columns with info boxes that have the images that are going to represent the breakfast, the lunch, and the desserts. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so let's go back to the page, and what we're going to do now is going to add a new row. You can do that with the plus sign over here, or if you want to open up your link layout tree and you want to make sure that you're on the last one here so you can see where all the insertion points are. So we're going to go ahead and do that here. I'm going to add a plus sign. I want the row layout, and this time I want a 3-column row. And then from here, I'm going to go to structure settings, and I want this to the max width to be inherited from the theme. So I'm going to toggle that on. And now we have our 3 rows ready for us to add the breakfast, lunch, and dinner sections. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm going to click on the plus sign here, and I am looking for the info box. Here's an info box right there. This is what we're going to use to be able to create this. So select your info box to the right, go to container settings, and just like we did last time, we're going to set this container background to be transparent so that we don't see it. We're also going to set the border background to be transparent so that there's no border as well. And we're going to make sure to do this for the normal and the hover, because there is a hover effect with the info box that comes with Kadence. Okay, so luckily we can customize every part of this. Then the next thing that we need to do is we need an image, and we'll leave the title there and some content. And then there's also going to be a button. So let's go ahead and create the first one, and then we'll just duplicate this across the other two. So first thing I want to do, I want the media settings here. So I'm completely done here with the container settings. I can close that out. And we're going to go here to the media settings. Under media settings, I'm going to change this from an icon, from it being an icon, to an image. So there's an image option here. We're going to select the image that we want. This is for breakfast. So we're going to select this nice stack of pancakes. Let's go ahead and add an alt text to that. Here we go. So here's our nice stack of pancakes right there. And then for the title, we're just going to go ahead and type in breakfast. We're going to leave this text here. This is just fine. And the other thing is we want to create some separation here with this image. So I'm going to go to the actual media file here, and right here you can have some image. You can actually make some image changes to the image. So one thing I want to add is I want to add a border. So just a nice subtle border. We're going to make this a 10 pixel border here. And see here, image border. And then the thing we want to do, we want to change the color of the border to white. Okay. And I'm seeing that there's some, if you hover over, you can see there's some padding here. There's also a hover effect on this. So now that I've changed that, we're going to go to hover, change the hover to white as well, so that it doesn't show any hovering. Then the other thing we want to do is we want to get rid of the margin around the media, right? So there's some media padding, and some media margin. So I'm gonna get rid of all of that. So right here, set that to 0 so that it's flush against that border, and set the margin to 0 so we can get a fuller image. Okay, and this looks pretty good. Then the next thing that we want to do is we also want to add a button here. So I'm going to close this media settings, and we're going to click on the learn more settings. So when you click on that, it's going to have you have the option to toggle it on or off. I'm going to toggle it on, and you can see now there's a learn more button here, right? So go ahead and click on the button, and we're going to change this to breakfast menu. This is where we're going to link to the breakfast menu. Okay, so that looks good. Now we need to add some color to the background and everything. So right here, the text color, we're going to leave that as dark. So we want this dark, or black. The background is going to be our normal background here that matches all our other colors. Sorry, select the first one. And we're going to set the same thing for the hover and so on. The border color, we do not want a border, so we're going to set that to 0. The hover, so when you hover over the menu, we want the text to turn white, but we also want the background to be a little lighter. And we do not want a hover border, so we turn it off. Okay, so far that looks good. And let's go back to normal settings here. Okay, great. And then the other thing that we want to do is we want to create a little bit of space. So it's a little bit too flush with the text here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down, and here where we have some margin, I'm going to increase that margin to 20 pixels on the top. So now that creates a nice, some nice spacing right there. And then on the padding, I do want this to be a little bit of a wider button. So on the right, I'm going to make this 12 pixels. Excuse me. Let's make it 16 pixels. And then on the left, we'll add another 16 pixels. And that looks pretty good. Maybe we can also increase this top padding and bottom padding. We'll just double that up. Okay, and that looks good. It looks like a pretty nice button there. So now that we've done this, next thing that we need to do now is we need to duplicate this for the other ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just select this entire box here, just like that, and the entire container. And I'm going to click on the options, these 3 dots here, options, copy. So now it's copied. I'm going to come here and I'm going to select paragraph. And what this allows me to do is I can just use Command V or Control V if you're using a PC, and I can replicate this in here. So I'm going to press Command V on my keyboard and then just repeat the process again. Paragraph, Command V. And now we have all the breakfast menus here. Okay. Now I'm noticing that my styling didn't carry through. So, and that is fine. We'll just style these again ourselves. So actually, let's do a reversal on this styling, because this is a lot of orange going on. So we're going to reverse the styling a little bit. So what I'm going to do, let me go back to this first one, and we're going to go to the learn more settings. And what I want to do is on the normal one, I want this to be an outline, and I want when you hover over it, then it fills out. So on the normal portion of this, we're going to leave the text color as black, or maybe let's just make it darker. So what I'm going to do is just make it this dark brown, kind of similar to this here, right? So dark brown. And what we will do there is on the background, we're actually going to make the background transparent, just like that. We're going to make the border, we're going to bring that back, and we're going to give it that same dark brown color as the other one. Here we go, that looks good. And with the border here, we're just going to set this to 1. Okay, so now that looks really good. Now let's see what happens when we hover. So if you hover over it, you notice it fills out. Okay, and we want to have the same setup for each one here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on, you see here where it says copy and paste styles. I'm going to click on this, copy styles, move over to the next one, hit the copy paste styles again, but this time I'm going to select paste styles. And you notice it does the same thing for the other ones, paste styles. So now everything's matched up really well. Now all we need to do is just change the text. So here I want this to be lunch, and I want this to be dessert. Okay, and then here we're going to change this to dessert menu. And here we're going to change this to the lunch menu. Okay. So now we need to change the images to match. Okay, so go ahead and select each. So we'll select this one in the middle for lunch. We're going to go to media settings. We're going to look for edit image, and we're going to find a image that better represents a lunch, like a chicken burger or chicken sandwich. Here we go. Add that, and then something for dessert. Now you don't have to go here to do this each time, media settings. You can actually do it right here. So there's a shortcut, edit media. Just click there, right? And then we're going to select these cupcakes. Our center section is now completed, and this looks really nice. So we're gonna go ahead and update, save our work, and then let's go ahead and view the page. And we can see now that we now have breakfast, lunch, and dessert already set up. Next, we're gonna go ahead and create the featured menu that's gonna go right below this section. Let's do that now. So this next section is going to feature the specials and the mini menu that we had on the other one. So the tab menu that featured the breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So go ahead and click on edit to edit the page. And we're going to scroll all the way down, and we're going to begin a whole new block or a whole new row. So we're going to start with the title and the text, and then below that we'll have the menu items. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this plus sign right here, and I want a new row layout, and this row layout will only have, in this case, we only want one row with one column. I'm going to go to the structure settings here, and I'm going to make this a little bit more narrow than usual. So normally I would select the max width from the theme, but in this case, I actually want something more narrow because we're just going to be using this for a title. So I'm going to set this at 650 pixels, so it's nice and together like that. Maybe a little bit wider. So let's go 700 pixels. There we go. And then with this row here, we're gonna create some spacing. So I'm gonna go to the padding and margin, and I want 80 pixels on the top and 80 pixels on the bottom for now. Okay, great. Then we're going to put in our text. So, but before we do that, well, let's just go ahead and put in our text. So I'm going to put in the advanced heading text, and our text was our featured specials. All right, and I want this text to be centered. I also want it to be a little bigger, so let's go with our 55 font and our 60 height, line height. And then next we're going to have some text below this. Okay, so right here, I'm going to hit enter, /. Actually, we don't need to hit /. It's already set up for us for text. But I like to use the advanced heading instead of regular text. So that's why I'm going to do it / and select the advanced heading. And then we're going to change this from an H tag to the paragraph tag. And I'm going to go ahead and grab some lorem ipsum and paste that in there. All right, there we go. Okay, and I want this centered. So let's go ahead and center this like that. And there's probably a little bit too much text here, so I'm just going to get rid of some of it. So let's start here, and we'll just get rid of some text in the middle. There we go. That looks better. And so this is just dummy text, but aesthetically it's got to read right. Oops. Undo that. Okay, there we go. Then the other thing is we need one more title here. So we need a mini title at the very top that says special menu. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. And we will call this one special menu. And you'll see what we're doing here in a minute. So special menu, spell. And I want this to be very small text. So let's go back to our 15 pixel text. And I also want this to be uppercase, uppercase. And we're going to change the color to our dark brown like that. And now we're going to add a divider at the very top to separate the two sections. And it's just going to be a mini divider, right? So I'm just going to click here, and I want the spacing, spacer from Kadence. So I'm going to select that. And on this one, we're going to go ahead and configure this right here on the right. So what I want for this divider is I want the divider color to be our orange. I want it to be a thicker one, so 5 pixels is fine. And then the width here, we're going to set this to 15%. And then I'm just going to drag it above the special menu so that it creates some separation for us. And then I want them to be a little bit closer. So I want the special menu to be a little bit closer to this divider. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to reduce the height of the divider to 10 pixels. Okay. And then the menu item here, what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to reduce the line height to 15. And that's just going to bring it a little bit closer and make it nice. All right, so that looks good. I think I want this to be a little bit more narrow. So instead of having the divider width at 15%, let's have it at 10%. Fantastic. And now we've created our title section which is going to be right above the menu. Next, we're going to create the tabbed menu. So let's go ahead and do that now. So I'm going to go ahead and click the plus sign again. We're going to add a new row, and it's going to have one column. And this column, we're going to go to structure settings, and we're going to set it to be the max width of the theme, the content section of the theme. So I'm just going to toggle that on, and now I have a nice little area here where I can add my information. So next, we need to add the menu. Now we had a tabbed menu, which means that the menu items are in separate tabs. So I'm going to click the plus sign, and I'm just going to type in tabs. We're going to select the tabs from Kadence themes, and the tab style that we want to use is this one right here in the middle. So select that, and you can see immediately it gives us 3 tabs to work with. Okay, so we're going to configure this first tab, and we're going to call this one breakfast. The second one is lunch. And the third one is desserts. Okay, and then to the right here, where we have the content settings, we're going to start making changes to the to all the information here. So here on the background, I want the background to be clear so that we're seeing right through it, just like that. Okay. The other thing that I want to do is I want everything centered. So I'm going to come here and align everything to the center, just like that. The border color, which is this blue color here, we're going to change that to the light, very light color here. Actually, let's make it actually a darker color. So let's go with D, just like that. And the border width here, I'm going to set that to 1. So it's very, very light, very subtle. Now we need to change the color of the tabs. Okay, so the tab title color is going to be this darker color, which is fine. But the title background, I want that background to be light colored. So just like that. So we're going to use from our palette the light color. Then the title border color is fine. When we go over to the hover, we're going to change the hover background to our orange color. Okay, and then our active background will also have that orange color as well. And the active color will be a darker color, like that. So when we hover over these, they change color. Okay, now if you notice that there is a border at the bottom of these, and I'd like to put a border there. So let's go back to our normal. And right here where it says title border color, okay, we're going to change this color to a dark brown, like that. Okay, and we'll do it all the way across. Brown, active. And now you're probably wondering, where is the border color for the tabs? I will show it to you. Okay, so now that this is all set up, let's go down and look at the tab title spacing. I think I'm happy with the spacing. The font is fine. Icon settings, we're not going to do anything there. And the container settings here. So everything here looks great. Awesome. So let's go ahead and add in the lower tab border there. Okay, so let's reveal this border. So we're going to go here to where it says tab title with spacing and border. Scroll down, and right here we're going to put a border around this of 3 pixels. Okay, now we don't want the border to go all the way around like that, so I'm going to go ahead and click on the link border here and make this individualized. So we're going to eliminate the top border, we're going to eliminate the right border, and we're going to eliminate the left border. So now it looks like that, and that looks great. Okay, so now our tab is ready for us to start adding content into it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and update my work. And so now when we navigate through these, we can see inside the content there. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is now start adding our content. So I'm going to go click a plus sign. So start with the breakfast, create a plus sign here. Click on the plus sign. And we're going to select the row layout, and we want 2-column row. So we're going to have 3 items on the left and 3 items on the right, and then we're going to replicate that all the way across. Okay, so first we're going to add my favorite type of block, which is the info box. Okay, and now that we've added this info box, we want all our content left aligned. So I'm just going to automatically select the one here that's on the left, and then I'm going to start making changes to everything. So first thing I'm going to change here is this background and border. So we don't want that. So we're going to go to container settings, and here where it says border width, I'm going to set that to 0. And then container radius, we're also going to set that to 0 because that's not going to matter. Container background will be transparent, so just delete the one there at the very last field. Whoops. Okay, and the container border is also going to be transparent. All right, next we need to set this up so that when you hover over it, it doesn't do that background. So go to hover under the container settings and set the hover background transparency to 0. I'm going to leave the hover border on though. So with the hover border, when somebody hovers over it, you can see a little border, which is a really nice effect. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a 1 pixel border there. That way we can kind of see a nice subtle border when you hover. Awesome. Now we need to set up the images. So if we go to media settings, we don't want this to be an icon. We want it to be an actual image. Okay, and we're going to select our image. And this is going to be our first breakfast item. So I'm just going to go ahead and select this one here. This is our breakfast. And I may use the same picture multiple times just in the interest of the tutorial. But of course, obviously, if you're building this for a real restaurant, you'll want to use your own items. Okay, so now I've put that in there. You can notice that here, because of the preset, we have border and background, white background here. We don't want that. We want this to actually be more prominent. So what we're going to do is under the image settings here, we're going to go to image border and we're going to set that to 0. We're going to go to the image border radius and we will also set this to 0. Okay. Then next is the image background, which is being revealed because of the padding here. So we're going to set our padding to 0 as well. All right. And then the media margin is fine. That's very fine. One thing we do want to do though is we want to adjust this media, the image file size. So right now it looks like it's at a thumbnail size. I see, it's at a preset size. So the image width here is at 100. Let's make this 180. Too big. 150. 145. There we go. That looks really good. And then I think I do want a border on there. So in the image border, I'm going to set the border to 8 pixels. Whoops, I'm sorry, not border. I want the border radius. So set this back to 0. Border radius would be 8 pixels. There we go. So now that looks like a pretty nice menu item there. And then you notice that there's some padding going on in this container here. So we want to eliminate that padding. So I'm going to go here to the container padding and I'm going to set this to 4. Perfect. So now I just need to change the title. So we can call this anything we want. Champions breakfast, and then we're going to add the pricing right next to that, and we'll say this is $14.99 if you want to have the champions breakfast. So now that we've set that up, we need to do something about this title. It's a little bit too big, so I'm going to come here and just close up some of these so that we can see what we're doing. So I'm closing that, and I'm also going to close the container settings. And now I'm going to open up the title settings. So in the title settings, what I want, the H2 is fine, but I want the font size to be smaller. So I'm going to make this 20 pixels. I also want the color of the text to be our typical darker color here. Dark brown. Okay. And now we've literally built out our first menu item. So what are we going to do from this point? From this point, all that's left to do is for us to duplicate the work, and we have to duplicate it 5 times. So here's the first one. We're going to grab this, and I'm going to click on duplicate. Do it again. Duplicate. All right, and now we have 3 menu items. I'm also going to duplicate it some more. Duplicate, and I can just drag this into the next column. Here, duplicate. Whoops. Duplicate. There we go. And we're going to drag it into the next column. And I can just duplicate from here. There we go. So now we have our breakfast, and we'll change the pictures in a minute here, but you can kind of see how you can set this up fairly quickly. Then you go to lunch, there's nothing there, desserts there is nothing there. So now let's put some differentiation in our breakfasts menu items. So making change to them is very easy. Just select one of these, click on changing the image here, and this is the breakfast item, so we can select maybe have another pancake or a cupcake. So let's make this, let's do these. All right, add that in there, and then we can call this eggs. And so I'm just going to go through and make these changes and speed through this so I don't waste any of your time. But you can kind of see how we can make the changes here. Okay, so now that we've set this up, now we need to set up our lunch and our desserts, right? So if we look here, these are all empty right now. So we just need to take what we've done here and put it in here. Now, what would be really cool is if you could select every single one of these and just duplicate it into the lunch and desserts. But that capability is not here yet, but that's okay. We can, it's actually a very simple way to do this very quickly. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to do it with groups. So first thing we're going to do though is we're going to go into lunch and the lunch tab, excuse me, and we're going to click on the plus sign. We're going to go ahead and add a row layout. We want a 2-column row layout. And then we're also going to do the same thing in the desserts tab as well. Plus sign, select the row layout, 2 columns. And so now the stage is set for us. Then we're going to go into our breakfast here. And what we would like to do is we would like to grab this and put it in here, and then we can make our changes, right? So I'm going to go ahead and select the first one here. I'm going to hold down the command key on my computer. You can, if you're using a PC, you can use control, and I'm going to select the, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the first item here. I'm going to hold down the shift key, and I'm going to select the last item here, and that selects all the items here that we have. And I'm going to turn this into a group. So go ahead and click on the 3 dots right here in the options section, and we're going to turn this into a group. And now that it's a group, that means that this entire thing is its own block, right? So I'm going to go ahead and open up the options again, and this time I'm going to select copy. Then I'm going to go to the next tab. I'm going to click into the first column. I'm going to select paragraph, and then I'm going to press Command V. And now we have that item there. You can use Control V if you're using a PC. Command V for Mac. Okay, and I'm just going to repeat that process. Do it again in here. Paragraph, paste. Okay, go into desserts, do the same thing. Paragraph, paste, and paragraph, paste. All right, and then all we need to do now is go into each one of these and change this so that it's not the same thing, right? So we're going to change the lunch into lunch items. We're going to change the desserts into dessert items, and I'm going to speed through this. I just wanted to show you how to be able to do that by using a group copy to get the other items in there. And then I'm just going to go ahead and speed through this so that we don't waste your time. And now we are done making our changes. So we now have our menu here. Now the only thing I need to do now is just work on some spacing. So we have a lot of space between this block and this block. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize the spacing here. And I can just do that by just dragging this up here. Nice and easy. And on this side, here we have some spacing here. I'm going to pull that up a little closer, and that's just about enough. And so now we are done. I'm going to go ahead and save my work and view the page. And as we can see now, we now have some really good sections going here. So we have our featured specials. We've got our lunch items, our offerings, our specialty introduction, and our heading, our featured header area, which looks really nice. So if you look here now, you notice that these are all kind of squished together, and that's one of the things with that's one of the things with Gutenberg is you're making changes on the back end. It's not exactly the same when you see it on the front end, so it's always good to check and then go back and make changes. So let's go ahead and put some spacing between these menu items. All right, so to do that, just come here, select the first item. Select this one. Okay, and we're going to go to container settings. And right here on the bottom, we're going to give a bottom margin of 20 pixels. All right, and that should give us some margin. And do the same here. Container settings, margin, 20 pixels. And I'm going to go ahead and do this throughout the rest and just speed through this so that it doesn't waste any of your time. Okay, now that I've completed all those changes, if we go ahead and take a look now, this should look a lot better. Now, the other thing that I noticed as well is that our spacing is still a little bit too close. So let's go ahead and create some spacing here between the two. So I'm going to go ahead and increase this to 120. So I like to have a lot of space. So a lot of white space between items. So this is a completely different section from this section. So it's always good to have some good white space between the two. Now that we've done that, click Update, view the page, and this is looking a heck of a lot better. So there we go. We have some nice spacing between all the menu items. Okay. So now that we've done that, we can check our lunch, breakfast, and everything really looks good. So next we're going to create the next section, which is the opt-in section, and then the testimonial section, and then we are done with the home page. So let's go back to the page. And we are going to add a block, and we want a row block. And for this one, we want 2 columns. So this is going to be our opt-in section. So we want 2 columns, structure setting, content max width, inherit from theme, so that everything is aligned. And then for this one, I'm going to do a minimum height here. And we're going to give this one 750 pixels tall. I'm going to select this row right here so we can see everything. And I want to align this to the middle. Perfect. Then we need to add an image back here. So we're going to go to our background settings, select an image. And the image that we want is this cupcake image here. Okay. And then now we need to add some text, and we need the opt-in form right here on the right. Okay. So first, click in the first column. We want an advanced heading. And for that heading, we're going to say, join the Clifton Cafe Club. So this is going to be our mini text. Let's go ahead and change the color so we can see it. So we want this to be white. And then let's make some changes here to the typography settings. So the first thing we want to do, we want this to be all uppercase. We want the size to be 18. And now that looks really good. Okay, next we're going to add another heading here. So advanced heading. This is going to say, get 20% off your next meal. So this is the offer that we're giving for people to go ahead and put in their email and address and join our mailing list. And we're offering them free dessert as well. Every month. Okay, so let's go ahead and format this. I'm going to go ahead and select this heading. Click on the color. I want this to be white. Typography settings. Okay, on this one we want this to be bigger, so we make this 55 pixels. I'm going to give it a line height of 60, so everything looks close together there. The other thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to create some padding in the section. So to do that, let's open up our layout tree. I'm going to find our section right here, and what I want to do is here on the right, I'm going to go to the padding settings over here, and on the left side, on the right side, I'm going to give this 40 pixels. Awesome. The other thing I want to do is I want to highlight the benefits. So I'm going to highlight the 20% off by selecting it or highlighting it with my mouse. And then I'm going to hit this little arrow right here for the more on the options key, and I'm going to select highlight. And that's going to give it an orange highlight there. And then I'm also going to do the same thing for the free dessert. So 20% off and free dessert. Highlight. Okay, so far this looks really good. Now the thing is, I noticed that the orange here is a little bit off. So I want to use the other color for our highlight. So I'm going to go ahead and select the text over here to the right, highlight settings. I'm going to click on the highlight color, and we're going to lighten that up a little bit so that looks a lot better. Awesome. Then we just need one more piece of text. I'm going to hit enter, and we're going to add an advanced heading again, and we're just going to let people know that there are terms and conditions. So terms and conditions apply. Okay, we're going to go ahead and lighten this up so we can see it. And then under typography settings, we're going to make this a little bit smaller than all the other text. So 14 pixels is small enough. Perfect. Okay, and now that looks good. Might want to bring this a little bit closer. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to go to spacing settings, and on the bottom padding, 0, and on the bottom margin, 0. And that brings that a lot closer. Okay, so this is now looking great. The other thing that I want to do is I want to create a bit of an overlay. So I'm going to select the outside row here. We're going to go to background overlay settings. I'm going to select gradient. We're going to leave this color transparent, but the second color, I want that to be dark. So a black color is fine. Okay. And then we're going to increase this overlay opacity right here. We'll make that black. And then on this one, let's make this one white. So it looks like I had to add a color. So make this white. And then we will create transparency there. Bring this all the way dark so that we can see where our gradient is. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the angle. Okay, so I'm going to put in 90 degrees so that it's on the left side closer to where the text is so that we can clearly see the text, and then it fades out so we can see the dessert on the right hand side. Now we need to create our form, and Kadence Blocks does come with a default form that's actually pretty powerful. But before doing that, we're going to go ahead and add some text above the form, giving people instructions on what to do. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the column there. We want an advanced heading, and the version of the advanced heading that we want is a paragraph version. And then I'm going to go to the typography settings here, and I want the, okay, so you notice here there's no option for me to change the weights because I want this to be a little bit bold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to type in the actual font that we want, Montserrat, and now all those options show up. And I want this to be bold, just like that. It's perfect. And that looks good. Next, we're going to go ahead and add our form. So I'm going to hit enter and hit the plus sign here. We're going to look for, just type in form. Here's the Kadence form, select it, and it immediately populates a form for us with the customization options to the right. So we're going to start customizing this. So the first thing is we're not going to need this one because this is an opt-in form, but we are going to need the name field and the email field and the submit field. So let's go ahead and start customizing this now. So I'm going to go ahead and select this one. Over here to the right, I can go ahead and make changes to it. So the field type is text. Field name is field label is name, and that is fine. Placeholder, we're going to leave some instructions here. We're going to say enter your name. Okay. And then the column width for this one, I want this column width to be 50%. So I want it to be short. Then I'm going to select the next one here, and I'm going to do the same thing. The email, enter your email for the placeholder text. And I'm going to also make this 50% so that it's aligned side by side, just like that. Okay. So far that looks good. Now we can't see this label because it's dark, so we're going to change that as well. So I'm going to go down here to label styles. The label color is going to be white, and that looks good so far. Now we're going to work on the button. So the button, what I want for this button, first thing is I want to change the text. So I want the text to say something different. So we're going to select the button here. Let's close this down, and let's close that, and let's close label styles. Great. So here's button styles right here. And so what I want with this button is, one, I want it to be a full width button, so it stretches all the way across. The text color is going to be dark or black. All right, and then I'm going to click on the button here. We're going to change this to join. You can say join now with exclamation mark. Okay, and then here we're going to make this text bold, and that's our opt-in. Looks pretty nice. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do here is we're going to add some style to this background row by adding dividers. Okay, so we want to match the kind of dividers that we have all the way up here, and we want to kind of create a really nice effect. So I'm going to select the row, the main row, and I'm going to go here to dividers, and the divider that we want is sort of that wavy divider, and here's the one we're going to use. So we have this one for the bottom. Actually, no, that's not the one we want. This is the one we want for the bottom. And then when you go to the top, we're going to have an opposing one that looks just as good. Here it is. Awesome. Now we need to change the color to match the color of the website. So I'm going to go to divider color. We want this outer color here. And then for the bottom divider, we're going to do the same thing. And there you have it. Now our opt-in section is complete. I'm going to go ahead and hit update. And we're going to view our page. And if we scroll down, we have this really nice opt-in section. So now all that remains is for us to create our testimonial section. Okay, so to do that, edit page, scroll down. We're going to add a new row. Actually, you know one really cool thing we could do? We can actually go to the design library. And under these starter packs here, let's look for a testimonial and see if there's one that's available. So here's this one. This looks really nice. So I'm going to select this one. And so just like that, you now have your testimonials in place. And you can add additional ones if you want, but we're just going to stick with 2 for right now. And this is great. So all we need to do is just make a couple of changes. The first thing I'm going to do here is I'm just going to change this text to kind words. And we'll change this to testimonials. I also want this to be bigger to match all the other large text that we have on the site. So I'm going to come here, we're going to add 55, and we'll do 67 for spacing. Whoops, that was probably too much. 60, there we go. And then I'd like to change the color of this to our usual dark brown. Right there, that looks really good. And then I also want to add a divider at the top just for aesthetics. So we're going to go here and let's copy this particular divider. Copy that. And scroll back down. And anywhere here, just go ahead and get a paragraph going and Command View or Control V or Command V. And then start moving this up until it's where you want it, which is right there. And now this looks good, and believe it or not, we're done. We're just going to change this title here to Diner and change this one to Diner as well. All right, and just like that, we have completed the home page, and this looks really good. I'm going to go ahead and save my changes. Now there's one more thing that I want to do, and that has to do with the footer. So I want to add a little bit of styling here to the to this page and to this row so that the footer can match what we're going to do next. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this, let's see here, let's select this row right here. This will do. I'm going to extend this padding here. So I'm just going to drag this to about, let's say, 240. And you'll see why here in a moment. There we go. Then I'm going to go to dividers. And this time I'm going to create a divider on the bottom. And we're going to give this one a different color that's going to match our footer. Okay. So let's find one that we like. I like this one. And we're going to give this one a height of 160. Okay, so it's nice and prominent. And then we're going to give it a color. And this color, we're going to use a darker color here. So this is a good color right here. And I'm going to go ahead and update this. And then we're going to view the page. And you'll see why we did this in a moment. So now our page is pretty much done. This looks really good for our restaurant website. Now I just need to change the color here of the bottom footer. So to do that, just go to Customize. And we're going to go to Footer. Just click on Copyright. And I'm going to get rid of this theme credit here. And let's see here, just make sure that everything here looks good so we can see it. There we go. So, and then we need to do some design changes, right? So the design change that we're going to make is that we want our link color, actually our font color, to be light. And then we also want the color of the background here to be the same color as what we have here. So to do that, just select that bottom row of the footer. Now we could add widgets to this and so on. We're not going to do this in this tutorial, but you can certainly do that. But I'm just select this bottom row, and under the bottom row, we're going to go to Design, and we're looking for the bottom row background, which is this right here. I'm going to select that, and we're going to match it to the same color right here. Okay, that looks really good. And this copyright, let's add our agency name to this copyright. So I'm just going to do a block there, and we're going to say Clifton WP. All right. And actually, let's make it more official. Site by. There we go. Publish. And we're pretty much done with the home page. This looks awesome. So if you followed along, you've successfully created a really nice home page for a restaurant. The next thing that we're going to do now is we're just going to build out our menu page where we're going to put our breakfast, lunch, and dessert items on it. We're going to build out our reservations page, and we are pretty much done. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that really quickly. So creating our internal pages are going to happen very quickly. So the first thing that we want to do though is we do want to take some assets from this home page we created, and it'll just speed up our workflow, and you'll see what I mean. So one thing that I do want to grab from here is I want to grab this hero area here that we have. This is going to serve as the foundation for the page headers for the internal pages, and we're only really creating two pages, which is the menu page and the make a reservation page. So let's go ahead and do that. So first we're going to go to edit page, and what we want to do once we get here is we want to convert this to what's called a reusable block in Gutenberg. A reusable block is just basically a section or group of blocks that you can save for use on other pages. So to be able to do that, I'm just go ahead and grab this here, this row. Just click on this row, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the options here, and I'm going to click here to say add to reusable blocks, and we're going to give this a name, and let's just call this page hero area. Okay, so this is now our reusable block. I'm going to go ahead and save that. Okay, so that's now saved in our reusable blocks. That means that I can go to any other page and I can quickly just select a reusable block called page hero area, and this entire thing will show up for me. Now let's grab a couple other things. We're going to create the menu page, right? So let's grab some menu items and save that as a reusable block. Matter of fact, right here, I'm actually going to select the entire tab section here that I've created here. So I want this whole row. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to call add to reusable blocks, and we are going to call this one our menu. Actually, let's just call it food menu row, and we're going to save that as well. All right, so then let's just go ahead and update this page so we can retain all our changes here, and now we're going to go ahead and create a page. So first, we're going to go back to our dashboard here. I'm going to click on add new, and we're going to create a new page called menu. Okay, and then let's set up the page so that it flows like the rest of our website. So I'm going to go over here to the page settings, and I'm going to select that I want to disable the page title. I want a full width page unboxed on the content style, and I'm going to disable the vertical padding. Now that I've done that, I'm going to click publish, save my work, and now I can start building out my menu page. Okay. All right, so to begin, I'm going to click on the plus sign here, or you could click on the plus sign here. All right, and we're going to select the reusable tab here. And you can see our reusable blocks are here. Okay, so I want the page hero section. I'm going to click on that, and you see that's now pasted in here. Now I can go ahead and start making changes. Now here's the thing to keep in mind about reusable blocks. Whenever you use a reusable block, if you make any change here, it will change it across the website anywhere that this block is used. So it's very important to keep note of that. So all the reusable blocks that you create are linked to each other. So the first thing we need to do is we need to unlink these blocks, okay, so that when I make changes here, it doesn't make any changes to the home page. So the way to be able to do that is make sure that the block is selected. Okay, so I can see right here that it's selected. If it's not, you can look down here where it says page hero area. You can click on that and it will select the entire thing. And the way you'll know is you'll see the name of the reusable block here. If I had just selected a block, say like I've selected this heading block now, so you can kind of see that, or if I've selected the row, for instance, selecting the row is very different from selecting the reusable block. So I want to make sure that I've selected page hero area and then it looks like this. You click on this icon here where it says convert to regular blocks. And once you click on that, it then releases it from the reusable block links. And now you can make changes here without affecting any other changes across the rest of the website. So now that I've done that, now I'm free to go ahead and make my changes. So the first change I want to do is I want to change this background. So I'm going to select the row. I'm going to go to the row layout. I'm going to go to this block settings, and I'm going to click on the background settings. And we're going to edit the image, and we're going to use a different image for the menu. Okay, so we're going to select this image right here, and now we have a new background. This looks pretty good. Then the next thing that I want to do is I also want to change the text, right? So I want this to actually say menu. And you can need to leave some text here if you want to have something to say about your menu. I do not, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove that, and I'm also going to remove the button. Okay, so I just have the menu. Then the other thing is I need to adjust this. It's a little bit too tall for an internal page, so I'm going to go to structure settings. I'm going to go to structure settings. Oops. There we go, structure settings. And here where I have the minimum height, I'm going to go ahead and change that here to 200. Whoops. Let's make that 400 pixels is just fine. Or you know what? Let's actually make it 500 pixels. That way we can see the plate and everything. All right. So this is actually, you know what? We have to take into consideration that our header is actually going to overlay a part of this. So I'm going to go ahead and change this to 750 pixels. Okay, great. Then the next thing that we need to do is we need to add our menu items. Okay, so the menu items that we're going to add, if you remember, we actually created a reusable block for our menu items, and you'll see the reason why I did that. Okay, so but first, let's create a section here where those menu items are going to go. We're going to have breakfast, lunch, and desserts. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new row layout, and the first row layout I'm going to add is going to have just one row. We're going to go to our structure settings, and for this area right here, I'm just going to set this up to be content width of, let's say, 600 pixels. That's fine. Then I'm going to click inside of the plus sign here. I'm going to select an advanced heading, and we're going to just type breakfast. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and center this. And let's make the text a little bit bigger so that here size is going to be 55, and we'll make the line height 60. Actually, I think this is a little bit too big, so let's cut this down a bit let's make it 44 pixels. There we go. All right, so now we have our breakfast heading. Now we need to add our breakfast items. And the way I'm going to do this to save time is I'm going to use a reusable block. So the way you do that is you basically go up here to the plus sign, go back to reusable, and this time we want the food menu row to be pulled in. So once I click on that, you can see here now that we have the food menu row pulled in. Now remember, again, the same thing. This is a reusable block. So if I make any changes here, it will make changes to the menu on the home page, and I don't want to do that. So what I want to do here is I'm just going to unlock this and turn this into regular blocks. This way I can do things with it. All right, so now that I've done that, now I'm going to take a couple of steps here. The first thing is I'm going to grab my breakfast item here. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. And then I'm going to shift it down below that one. And then I'm going to make a duplicate of the menu item here. Menu row, and I'm going to shift that below. So it kind of looks like I'm replicating each section, and that's exactly what I'm doing, because I'm going to convert these into their respective menu items. So I'm going to duplicate the heading again, shift it down, and we're going to duplicate this heading, this section, the menu section. There it is, and I'm going to shift it down. Okay, so now we should have 3 sections that are duplicates of each other. So 1, 2, 3 sections. Okay, awesome. Now we need to make changes. So the first thing is I want this to be list format, meaning I don't want breakfast, lunch, and dessert in all of these. I really just want breakfast for breakfast, and then lunch under lunch, and so on. So let's work on the breakfast one first. So what we want to do here is in the breakfast section here, this is the breakfast tab. This is a tab section. If I click inside the tabs, you can see here, in here, we have these menu items. All I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this menu item outside of this tab. And the way you do that is just make sure you selected the entire row. Come here to this drag icon, and we're just going to drag this straight up until we see the line. And then I'm going to drop it there. Okay, so there it is. This is our breakfast. And now that I've done that, I can come back here into the tab, this tab section right here, and I'm just going to delete this and remove block. Okay, so now our breakfast is separated out under the breakfast tab. Then I'm going to come down to this replication of the breakfast, and I'm going to type in lunch. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go to the lunch tab, select the full row, and then I'm going to drag it right up, and it's out. Okay, saves us a lot of time having to recreate every menu item. And then this will be dessert. Okay, and I'm going to select desserts on this menu item, make sure I selected the entire row from within the tab, and I'm just going to pull it up. And now that it's out, I can go ahead and delete the tab block. And just like that, literally that quick, we have now created our menu page. Now, what I want to do though is I do want to create some separation here. So I'm going to go ahead and select this upper row, and I'm just going to drag this out to about 120. I can even just do that for all the other ones. So select here, drag it out, 120. And this one I'm just going to leave it. That one's just fine. Okay, that creates plenty of spacing between everybody. All right, and our menu section is now complete. So I'm going to go ahead and update this, and let's take a look at what our menu page looks like. View page, and here it is. Okay, so this is now our menu page. And we can see here our menu page has been added to our menu. Nice and easy, and this looks very nice. Okay, looks very good. Excellent. So now we need to create our reservation page, and we're going to go ahead and do that in similar fashion right now. Okay, so to create the reservation page, go to New Page. We will call this page Reservations. We're going to set up the page by going to the page settings, and we want to disable the title, implement a full width, content styles unboxed, and content vertical padding disabled. Okay, publish. All right, so now that we've done that, now we need to add our elements to the page. So the first thing we're going to do here, we're going to click on the plus sign. We're going to go to reusable block, and we're going to use a page hero area reusable block. As soon as we pull that in, the first thing we want to do is we want to convert this to regular blocks, because remember, if we start making changes here, it will make changes to the original reusable blocks that it's linked to. So we're going to go ahead and click that to convert to regular blocks. So it looks like now it's converted, and now we can start making our changes. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to change this text to reservations. We're going to delete this text, and we're going to delete the button. Then the next thing is in the background here of the row, we're going to change the background. So background settings, edit image, and we want to use this image here. And that looks pretty good already. So then the next thing we need to do is we need to eliminate some of this this height. So it's a little too tall. So we're going to go to structure settings, and under minimum height, change that to 700. Okay, so what we need to do here is we're going to add a row here. And I'm going to select a 1-column row. I'm going to make this row under structure settings. We're going to make this row 850 pixels in width. Okay, so not too wide. And then we're going to start adding some elements to it. So the first element I want to add, of course, is a heading that gives some instructions, which says make a reservation. All right. And we're going to go ahead and center this. Text align center. And we're also going to add one more advanced heading. But this heading, we're going to transform it to a paragraph. And then from in here, we're going to paste in some dummy text. And we want to center this text so it looks like that. And then below here is where we're going to add our reservation form. Now, Kadence blocks does come with a, the free version actually comes with a form, but there are some fields that are missing. For instance, it's a basic contact form. We actually want a form that will allow us to have a date field and a time field, because people are going to be making a reservation for what date and time they're going to come and have food. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add one more plugin. So this entire time we've been operating with really one plugin in this install. We're going to add one more plugin. It's a free plugin that will allow us to be able to create a reservation form very easily. So let's go ahead and save our work now. And we're going to go to the dashboard, go to plugins, add new, and I want you to do a search for Fluent Forms. Fluent Forms. Okay, so here's Fluent Forms. We're going to install this. It's completely free. There is a pro version of this, but the free one that we're going to use here is more than enough to do what we need. So now that we've installed Fluent Forms, we're going to go to Forms, and we're going to click on New Form. So you can see it already comes with some standard forms that we're going to use, but we're not going to use any of these. We're going to create a completely blank form. So click on Create Form. All right, and this is the form creation section here, okay? So on the right here are all the fields that we need, and this is the area where we can go ahead and drag in all the fields that we need. Okay, so the first field that we need is a time and date field, right? So we want to know, when are you coming to the restaurant? So right here is one of the fields. Just go ahead and drag it in. Drag and drop. There it is. And then we can now go ahead and configure this field. So click on the field, and we're going to configure this. And I want this to be a date field. So this is date or time, but we're going to do this as a date field. And then the date format that we want here is we want just a normal format. So which is basically the month, day, and year. So select that. And we're going to make this required. And that's all set. Okay, now we can go back to our input fields by clicking on this tab right here. And we're going to select another time and date field. And just drop that in. Actually, you could just click on it. You don't need to drag it in. You can click on it and it shows up. So here we are. So date and time field again, we're going to edit this field. And for this field, we want this to just be time. Okay, and then under the date format at the very bottom here is a time only option. Select that. Okay. Now we need to know how many people are going to be in the party, right? So I'm going to go back to input fields again, and I'm going to select the numeric field. Just click on it. It'll populate it right below that. And we're going to change this. We need the label to say how many people in your party. And they can only put numbers in here. So there we go. And we can do a minimum value. So you could say a minimum of 2 people or 1 person, a maximum of 10 people. We're just going to leave all that alone. Okay, so this is plenty. Now, one of the things that I want you to see here, we can actually take this text and make it a placeholder. So where we give an instruction. So I could say, enter the number of people in your party, right? And let's go ahead and do that for the rest of them here. So all of them except placeholders. What time will you be dining? All right, and please select a date. And you'll see why we're doing all this once we're done. Okay, awesome. So next question we're gonna now ask is, now we're gonna get their personal details, right? So I'm gonna go back to input fields, and we're now going to enter name field. So we want the first name and last name, and we can configure this field as well. So here in the name field, I can say I don't want a last name. I think first name is more than enough. You know what? Let's get the last name too. All right, and so now that that's in there, let's also get, whoops, click the button there. So first name, last name, and then next, let's get the email address. Okay, so go back to input fields, and we're going to select email, click on email, and then we also want their phone number. Now you notice that the phone number is grayed out here, and that's because this is only offered in the pro version of Fluent Forms, and that's okay. We can actually just use a simple text field for this, right? And go ahead and call that our phone number field. So we'll call this phone number. We will make this a required field. And for the placeholder, we'll say enter phone number, and we'll give an example so that people know how to format this correctly. 999, 999, 999. All right. And I think that's all we really need, right? We've got the dates, we've got the entering a time, how many people in the party, name, email, and phone number. That's plenty. So we're going to go ahead and save our form. Okay. Now you can preview the form here. So we look at preview and design so you can see what your form looks like. And I'm pretty happy with this, with the way that it looks. I'm pretty happy with it. So all I need to do now is copy this shortcode. So you see this shortcode right here? You can copy this shortcode. And let's exit the, let's go ahead and exit the preview. So close this out, exit the preview, and we're gonna go back to our page. So go to pages, go to reservations, click on edit, and we're back here again, okay? So now that we're here, there's a couple of ways we can add this. We could add that shortcode that we just did, or you can just go ahead right here, enter, and click the plus sign and just search for Fluent. And there's Fluent Forms right there. Click on it, select the form. We want the reservations form. We're going to click update, and now we can view the page. Okay, and now our form is right here ready for us, for people to be able to make reservations very quickly and easily. And you can configure this to be emailed to you or emailed to someone else or someone on your staff, but you're pretty much set. Now let's do some housekeeping, so some cleanup work. So the first thing I want to do is on this page, I don't like how close this is to the footer, so I'm going to come over here to this row. And I'm just going to increase the size here to about 120. That's usually enough. Let's update that. View the page. Excellent. This looks great. The second thing that I want to do is I want to make sure this is responsive, right? So we've been building out these pages. We really haven't been checking on the responsiveness of the pages. And also I noticed that right here, I can't really see the menu items. Okay, so that's something else that we're going to have to fix. So the first thing I want to do is I want to just create an overlay here so that we can see these menu items just fine. So I'm going to go ahead and edit the page. Click on this row, go to background overlay. And this time I just want a normal overlay. I'm going to make it dark. Make it dark, and the opacity, let's reduce this just a little bit to about 50%. Update, view. All right, that looks a little bit better. Great. Then the next thing we need to do is we need to make sure this is responsive, right? So we're going to do some mobile responsive editing. Go to edit page, select the row. This is the best way I've found to do mobile responsive editing with Gutenberg. Select the row, and if you look here to the right, you'll see the different screens. So this is what it looks like on a tablet. and this is what it looks like on a mobile phone, right? So based on what it looks like, we want to make some changes here. So right here, I can see that the reservations is kind of smushed to the side here, and this is on the tablet. So what I want to do for the tablet layout is I just want the rows to be full width across. So collapse the rows. I'm going to select that option, and now my reservations is clearly able to be seen. And then I'm going to scroll down and take a look at how my forms are, how everything is showing up, and this is showing up just fine. And then I'm going to check it out on mobile, and I can see here that this looks fine. However, this is too big. So I'm going to select this text, and it's already set up for me for mobile, and I'm going to reduce the font size here to 36. The other thing I want to do is I want to align it to the center. There we go. Great. So now if I look at this on tablet, that looks great. If I look at this on desktop, that looks awesome. Update. And we are done with that. View the page, and everything looks good. The next thing that I want to do is I want to go to the menu page, and I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to edit the page. Now we have a little bit of a darker image here, so I don't need to make any changes to this overlay. However, I do want to see what this looks like on mobile. So I'm going to select that item, select the row, top row, so that I can see the screen options. Click on the tablet. And you know, this is a small, this is a few letter word, so this may look fine, but I really want it to be uniform with the other pages. So I'm just going to go ahead and collapse the row. There we go. On the tablet layout. And then if I scroll down here, we can see, okay, we've got these 2-column layout thing going on, and everything's in the middle. So we actually don't want this. We actually want this to present a little bit better. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and select the row itself, and I'm going to collapse that row as well. Now that looks a lot better. Select the row, tablet layout, we're going to collapse the row. And for dessert, same thing, collapse the row. So now we look really good on tablet. How do we look on mobile devices, a mobile phone? So I'm going to select the menu item here, and I want everything to be uniform. So we're going to set this to 36 font. I'm going to center it. All right. And then I also notice, let's see here, that this looks kind of strange, all smushed like this. So we need to do some mobile optimization here. Okay, so to mobile optimize this, what we want to do here to make this look good is we're going to select this. Let's select the first menu item here. And what I want to do, I'm going to make sure that I'm on the mobile device option. I'm going to center the text. I'm going to go to not container settings, excuse me, media settings. And I'm going to select the mobile device again. And I want this aligned to the top, right? And I'm going to leave everything else as it is right here. And I know we're not seeing the changes happening here, but they are happening. So now that I've made that change, I'm going to select this item again. I'm going to come here, and I'm going to click on Copy Styles. And I'm just going to click on each image and Paste Styles. Click on the image again, Paste Styles. I'm going to go through doing this to pretty much every menu item. Okay, so we've made all the changes. So how do we know that everything we did worked? So let's go ahead and update our page. And let's view the page. All right, and let's take a look at this in mobile view. So I'm going to click on the inspector here, go to my mobile view, and voila, right? So everything's kind of nicely aligned here, and it all looks really good. All right, great. So let's get out of that, and let's go to the home page. So here on the home page, let's do some quick housekeeping, right? So one thing that we're going to do, we're going to grab this link, and I'm going to click on Edit Page. And right here, I'm going to select here, and I want to add the link here to the menu. All right, then the other thing is I also want to make sure that this is mobile optimized, right? So I'm going to click on the screen option here and take a look. I'm going to go ahead and collapse this so that looks pretty good. And then I'm just going to move through doing the same thing to all the rows. And that looks great. And I like that. I like the way that looks. That's fine for a tablet. And then same thing here, right? So right here, all our rows need to be collapsed. So we're going to collapse the row, and we'll do it for each tab. Collapse the row, and collapse the row. There we go. Same thing with our opt-in. Testimonials is already collapsed and everything looked good. Okay, great. Now we need to make sure that everything looks good on our mobile device. So I'm going to click here. Obviously, this is way too big, so we're going to change this font size to 36. And we're going to give it a line height of 40. All right. And this looks good. The important thing is that it's readable, right? So people have to be able to read it on their mobile devices. This looks good. Same thing here. We want for mobile 36 and 40. So that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, and everything else here just kind of aligns up very well. So you kind of get the idea, right? So I'm just going to speed through this and just make sure that everything is lined up correctly. Okay, now everything is now nicely mobile optimized. So let's go ahead and update, save our information. And now let's go ahead and exit this. Let's go back to our desktop view. Okay, great. So now that we've done that, if we view the page, everything should line up very well on our mobile devices, right? I can go ahead and use my developer tool here, and I can see that, okay, this all looks good. Now, one of the things that you start noticing here where the header is, there is some stuff happening here because we're using a transparent header. So there's not enough room between the top here and the bottom here. So let's go ahead and fix that. Go to edit page. Select that. We'll click on the mobile view here. And we now know we need to leave enough room, our header here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to mobile padding. And right here on the mobile padding, I'm going to add 100 pixels to the top. Update, save. And now let's exit out of that. Update, let's view the page. And let's look at this on mobile. All right, so you see now we have a little bit more space. So this looks good. And I still think we need a little bit more space so that it looks better. So let's go ahead and add some more space. So edit page, row layout, mobile device, mobile padding, and I'm going to add about 50 more pixels. Update, save, view the actual page. There we go. And then I like to use my developer tool here, Chrome developer tool, to actually see what it's going to look like on a mobile device. And you can see here, it looks great. Okay, everything is lined up the way it's supposed to be. So this looks really, really good. Okay, excellent. Now there's just one more bit of housekeeping that we have to do. You see here we have the home menu reservations, and you can see the coloring here. So initially we set this color to the orange color. It's probably better if we just make this the highlight color. So this actually should be white, not orange. So I'm going to go here to customize, go to header, transparent header, and we're going to click on design. And you can see our navigation colors here. This should actually be white for the transparent header. And then the hover and the active color can be orange. So we'll publish that. And now this looks a lot better. All right. So now that we've got that taken care of, there is a few more things that we need to do. One is we need to make sure that all these links link to the appropriate places where they're supposed to link, right? So right now, if I click on this, it doesn't really go anywhere. So what we want to do is let's go ahead and fix that. Edit the page. We'll start with this one here. We'll add our link, and we know that this is going to go to the reservations page. So I can just type in reservations, select that page there, and that is done. Okay, that is done. And then here, we know this should go to the menu page, right? So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to select this, and you see here, this is where you would put in the menu. So we can see the menu page here, but I want this to actually link directly to the menu item itself, right? So what I'm going to do to make that happen is I'm going to create an anchor link. And the way you do that is we're going to grab the link to the menu page itself. All right. And then what I want to do is I'm going to add anchors to these. So let's go ahead and click on edit page on the menu page. And right here where it says breakfast, just select that. Over here to the right under advanced, we're going to type in the anchor breakfast. Okay. Breakfast. Make sure you capitalize the B. So breakfast. And then we're going to do the same thing for lunch, advanced, lunch. And then dessert, advanced, dessert. And we're going to update all this. Okay, awesome. Now we go back to our page here, right? And now we need to link all this. So I'm going to click on the breakfast menu, and right here where it has the link, we're going to edit this link, going to delete that. So what I want to do is I'm going to actually type in, paste in the menu link. And if I click on this, this is the link that we want. So I'm going to grab that link. So after I've got the link, now I'm going to click on the breakfast here, and I'm going to go ahead and paste in the link in the link field here. Okay, for this info box. And then I'm going to type right after I've pasted it in, hashtag breakfast. Now make sure after you do it, you click this submit icon here. It's very easy to miss. Just click on it to make sure that it holds. Then we're going to select lunch, paste in the menu link, and we're going to type hashtag lunch right after it. So menu link plus hashtag and lunch. Click the submit arrow there, select dessert, same thing, hashtag dessert, and submit. All right, now that we've done that, let's go ahead and click on update, view the page, and let's test out our links to make sure that they work. So if I click on breakfast, that takes me right to the breakfast. Okay, awesome. If I click on lunch, that takes me right to lunch. And if I click on dessert, that takes me right to desserts. Okay, so it's showing up for me wherever I click. And it's really all just happening on the same page using those anchor links. And the only thing that we need to do now is we just need to clean this up, right? Because we've got make reservation here, and we have reservations here, and we have menu here. And that's because we haven't set up and identified our original menu. So that's the thing that we need to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab this link. We're going to copy this link address for reservations, and I'm going to go to customize. I'm going to go to header, and we're going to go to the button, which is over here. And I'm going to go ahead and add my link to the reservations there. Publish. And that's great. Next, I'm going to look at the menus over here. And we haven't created a menu, so we need to create a menu, right? So create a new menu. We're going to call this our primary navigation, or you can just call it primary nav. This is going to be the primary navigation here. Next. And now we can start adding items. So I only want to add one item, which is the menu page. Everything else is not really necessary. And that's really it. Publish. And now we're done with a nice clean page that links where we need it to link, right? So menu links to menu, make a reservation links to make a reservation, and our logo links to the home page. All right. And that is how you create a completely custom restaurant website from scratch. Hey, if you enjoyed this tutorial and you liked it, please go ahead and give us a good like to the channel so that it can help us with the algorithm and other people can get a chance to see this tutorial. And if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel so that you can be notified when we release new videos. We're actually going to be making a more advanced version of this starting from this point, where we're going to add more complicated forms, some shopping capability in there, or ordering capability, or online ordering capability. We're going to be adding to this as well, and we can go ahead and expand this and show other things as well. So if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe, and thank you again for watching. And if you have subscribed, thank you for subscribing, and I will see you in the next video.